This is the Level Flight Podcast. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Level Flight Podcast. I'm Brian, and as always, I'm joined by Connor.
Hello, we back.
And Elliot.
Hey.
And we're here for the second episode of the show. I don't know about you guys. I have been itching to record this all week.
Oh, yeah.
Same here. I couldn't wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got a big show today. It's been a stupid busy week. For both the Jets organization and the entire league. Jets, played a few games. Moose played a couple games where we had a nice, successful weekend in the organization. The NHL had a really busy week. Found out the other day that they were in Finland for a couple games between Colorado and Columbus.
Who would have thought? Yeah.
I saw a game on it too, and I'm like, oh, what's this? Oh, they're in Finland. Oh, cool. Great marketing, NHL.
Leave it up to the NHL to always ace their marketing.
Oh, it's
just
great.
like all their pregame and postgame staff. Just acing it.
Well, even in the preseason, I didn't know that teams were starting over in Europe. Like, we're
those
starting
random
in
2
Switzerland.
games with the Predators and the Sharks. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then they marketed it like the first Tuesday night. That was like opening night in the NHL. It was like, well, no, the season has already started.
Yeah, it started like 5 days ago.
Yeah, it made no sense. But
all right,
just a disaster.
Well, enough about the NHL's marketing this early on, because that's a whole other rant for another time. Let's talk about the Jets a little bit, because that's what we are. But they're wrapping up a week where they went 2-0 against the Canadiens and the Blackhawks. The Moose wrapped up a week where they went 1-1 against the Texas Stars. So let's dive into those games a little bit. So the Jets and Canadiens played a spirited affair. Went pretty well in the Jets' way. In terms of what stood out to us, what did you see?
Well, Kyle Connor finally. I was telling some people after the game, was there not a more emotionally rewarding goal this season? Like, as soon as you see Scheifele drop the puck and Kyle Connor turn the corner, like, you're thinking, like, this has to be it. Like, if that shot goes off the post and wide, and then Suzuki and Caulfield come down on a 2-on-1 and bury it, and then he doesn't score again against the Blackhawks, like, what's the conversation we're having right now, right?
Yeah.
Like, he finally scored. I absolutely loved that. That was an awesome, OT winner. What a time for him to finally score. I liked Gagne on the top line. They experimented with that for 2 periods, and then they went back to Appleton, but I really liked how Gagne looked. Those are the things that stood out to me from that game specifically, was obviously Kyle Connor. But Gagne on the top line, it was a nice adjustment that I really liked, actually.
Yeah, as you said, like, seeing Connor wheel around there by the circle, no word of a lie. I looked, I go, please do it.
Yeah, that's what everyone was thinking. Like, this has to be it. He's one-on-one with Montembeault, and he's just like, this is Kyle Connor. Like, this is the goals that he scores.
And he'd had a couple other chances in that game. I made a tweet later. I think I said he had 6 shots on goal in that game, and I vividly remember him taking more than that missed the net or got blocked. Like,
it seemed like every game he was attempting more and more. Like, he knew he knew he only had 1 goal, so he's like trying his hardest. He's just attempting so many shots. There was one chance late in the third where he's alone in the slot and he shoots it, and it goes off a Canadiens player's stick and up into the netting. It's a sure goal if it doesn't hit the guy's stick. With 2-2 game, 5 minutes left in the third, I'm like, come on. Like, this guy's so snake bitten.
Like late in the year, if that happens, you go, okay, well, you've already got like 25 or whatever. Like, you're not really thinking about it, right?
It's just
kind of like it's
yeah.
right now where you're like, oh, well, if that goes in, maybe he gets going, right? So
Yeah, you had mentioned it last week, Connor, where it's his next one, which was his overtime winner against Montreal, is the first goal he scored on an actual goalie this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very relieving to see it. I hope he builds off of it. He didn't need to against Chicago.
Right.
Great game.
Great game.
So yeah, it was a 4-0 shutout there on Saturday. A little afternoon affair.
Matinee, if you will.
See, for matinee, I think a matinee is closer to noon for me.
Sure.
Remember the Moose matinee games?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, but that game against Chicago. Firstly, how about those jerseys?
Oh yeah.
beautiful jerseys. As soon as they dropped, I was like, "Yep, I really wish I could buy one right now. Those look really nice."
Well, they're $320 on TrueNorthShop.com, so.
And they're not even available yet. So pre-order and wait.
But those jerseys, when they first came out, I really liked them. Everyone wants red in them, and I think we can all agree that it would look better with red. But on the ice, like, jerseys like never really go down in value when you see a team play with it on. You don't think like, oh, that model standing in it looks great, but then when they play in it, it looks worse. Like, everyone's opinion really jumped up on the jerseys, but I think they're awesome.
I will say, the opinion of jerseys look better when they're on the ice kind of took a hit when Tampa brought their.
Those jerseys are like so bad they're good. There's too much going on.
Somehow
almost.
looked worse on the ice though. I didn't know how that could be possible. Yeah. I mean, I still think they're just like comically bad that they're good, but man, they're not great. Neither are the Sabres because they went
the white pants.
That's the thing. If it was blue pants, it'd be fine. I saw someone actually mention that the Jets, reverse retro could possibly look interesting if they had red pants with it. I'm not sure. I'd have to see it mocked up.
I think you'd have to add red to the jersey and the socks at that point if you go red pants. You can't just have like one splash of red with nothing else.
Yeah, that was my thought too.
The color swatch there is a little weird then if you do that because like the rest of the jersey is basically white and blue. If you add just red pants, it pops and it probably throws it off an accent, but yeah, it'll throw it off somewhat. You know, at least they're not the University of Wisconsin ripping off the Toronto Raptors jerseys.
Jerseys aside, the players in them did pretty well too. Specifically, Connor Hellebuck.
Oh yeah, another shutout.
Second of the year, 30 save shutout. But he was helped out by three power play goals, going 3 for 4 on the power play. The only one that they didn't convert on was a shortened one where they only had one for about 30 seconds. And a shorthanded goal by Adam Lowry.
That's the way he does it. Is this shorthanded? Like, that's the only way he scores. I found out during the Blackhawks game that Morrissey's a point-per-game player and is leading the Jets in scoring. I did not know that. I don't know what I assumed. He is the leading scorer. He's got 1 goal, 9 assists, and 10 points right now, leading scorer on the team.
I will make it very clear, I was also unaware of that.
Yeah.
If the guys will tell you my face was quite priceless there.
Mike McIntyre of the Free Press tweeted out Jets leading scorer Josh Morrissey. When he scored his goal, he said the leading scorer scores to put the Jets up. And I was like, no way. I have to double check that. And yeah. I also found out in that search that Dubois has 10 points in 11 games. I didn't realize that he's almost at a point a game.
Yeah.
Like, so wrapped up in Kyle Connor only scoring 1 goal and Ehlers being hurt that
and
I guess he
Hellebuck.
missed out. Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, there's guys that they aren't getting the coverage.
No.
Yeah, we're looking at a very interesting dynamic here where the players who are normally leading the scoring are still trying to find their way. I'm not going to complain about having more production from the back end, especially a guy like Morrissey who hasn't been a notorious producer throughout the his entire career, but I'll take it.
Sure.
He's rolling in.
And that's what Bonus said. He said he wants more goals from the defenseman, so that's what we're getting.
Yep.
You got one from Nate Schmidt as well.
Yeah.
During that game, another power play, just roofed it past. I guess at that point was it Dylan Wells?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Which
great pass by Perfetti on that too.
His passing, I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say that it's the best on the team.
His vision is just ridiculous. He's so patient too, and he waits. Like, you can see him waiting on the half wall for a seam to open up, like on the Schmidt goal.
Yeah.
He clearly slows down as soon as he comes over the blue line, and he can see that lane opening up, and it's just a matter of time, and then he snaps it over. Boom, goal.
I think he gives me prime Blake Wheeler vibes.
But
I think he's got better. I think he has
Yeah.
better vision than Wheeler, but I think we're gonna see better, similar if not better numbers.
If his passing keeps developing, I could definitely see that. Yeah.
He also,
for his age, it's ridiculous.
He needs to have a shooter though, like an actual elite shooting talent.
He himself needs to shoot. There's a couple times where he's in the slot, and I get it. He's such a great passer, but
passes
just shoot the puck. Sometimes, like
I look at that line, and that line would be perfect if you take Wheeler off the line and you put a shooter on that line. Mm-hmm. You have a playmaker in Perfetti. You then have a in front net presence in Dubois, who will create and shoot every once in a while, but he's more of a stand in front of the net bruiser. And then if you put a shooter on that line, like that would be probably the perfect second line.
There's also a way to put Connor back with Dubois, which had success last year, and then put Perfetti with Scheifele on the top line or second line, however you want to look at it. But there's a way to get both Kyle Connor going and get Perfetti a shooter.
It's difficult, though, to do so with how the team is currently constructed, because most of the offensive talent, if not all of it, is sitting on those top two lines. So if you shuffle them around and then someone gets hurt, you immediately have someone who's not necessarily an offensive firepower. But I mean, he looks good enough that I think he can find goals for guys who aren't typically their goal scorers. Like, I mean, Dubois thrives off of the up close. Granted, he's been firing him from the circles. He looks good, but no, I think Perfetti is destined to have a massive assist number season. Like, it's just, he's so smart with the puck.
I wrote before the season that I had like a hot takes thing where I said 40 assists for Perfetti.
Not out of the question.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah,
like,
no.
Which is ridiculous for his age. That would be unbelievable. So I don't see
100%.
why not.
That'd be a great rookie year.
Just to double back here a little bit onto the forward depth. I'm having some problems with the fact that Appleton is becoming the default on that top line. Especially, I thought, as you said earlier, Sam Gagner looked great on that top line. He's one of those guys that he can kind of fit in wherever. He's not the fastest anymore, but he makes it up for it in his hockey IQ. He's a really good playmaker. I just don't know if Appleton has that part of his game that can help to, make that line work. It puts a lot of pressure on Scheifele and Connor, and therefore makes it easier for, the other teams to just focus on them, because Appleton doesn't have the finishing ability. His playmaking needs some work. I mean, to be fair to him, it's not his game.
No.
He's a guy who thrives on, the third line, fourth line. He's a guy who forechecks, tries to, drive the puck loose a little bit and penalty kill, but he's never really been that offensive guy in the NHL yet.
I think his speed makes it like workable enough that top line is still going to produce here and there, but I think Gagner is a better fit. The main reason for me was Sam Gagner has the best goal song on the team, and I just want to hear more of that. Mr. Brightside, I mean, come on. That's my reasoning for him.
I mean, I think we have to consider, though, that Nate Schmidt has Mambo number 5.
We finally heard that for the first time.
I know.
Love it.
No, I just think, I don't know. I'm with both of you. I'm kind of in the middle. It's just like Appleton is, like Brian said, he's a bottom 6 guy. He's not really anybody that I'm like, oh wow, you know what? Like he doesn't really add to that top line, but his speed kind of makes up for it. And then you kind of think, okay, I see what Rick's trying to do, and I think what he's trying to add is a different element to the line, where I think he's trying to get somebody like Scheifele to actually start caring about forechecking and getting in deep and that sort of thing. So I think that's what his thought process is.
Or maybe adding some defense to the line, because Connor and Scheifele notoriously haven't been great defensively. So
yeah, and so you've got at least some. It's like you're playing basketball and you add like a defensive player to your lineup. You got like 4 offensive players and that are notoriously like not good on defense, and you throw a defensive center out there or a defensive wing, and you go, oh, you know what? This lineup actually doesn't look bad on defense, because
make it manageable defensively.
Yeah, and so that person's kind of like the Rock. So I think that's what he's trying to do, but I don't know if it works in this situation.
What I will say, and I don't know what the underlying numbers say. I haven't had a chance to look. This is strictly eye test. I have noticed Scheifele busting his ass a lot more to try and get back on plays. I've noticed him, actually back checking a fair amount. There's still some defensive lapses that I've noticed, but it seems like there's more effort there, which is nice because, in the last few seasons, you just look at him and you're like, dude, just put the effort in, man.
You do see it come back here and there. Like, I'll reference that Jack Eichel game winner in overtime that one time. And we can now switch our topics into our overtime discussion that we're going to have here. But there was that one goal where I posted a screenshot on Twitter, all three, Connor, Scheifele, Morrissey, just staring at the puck as Eichel goes across the crease and beats Hellebuyck on, like, the far side. You don't love to see that. That's last year. Like, that's...
Like, I get it. They're all at the end of a shift, but you gotta, like, that's the thing. You're
8
out there
seconds
still.
left.
There's 8 seconds left. Throw yourself on the ice. Just try and prevent the goal. Get it to a shootout, and then hope that your SEAL guys can win it for you, because you know that Hellebuyck was, lights out in that Vegas game. He's gonna give you a big enough chance to win there, but no, they were just standing there. Let them just walk them entirely. So it's a strategy that I think that they're still trying to get back into because they weren't, reprimanded for it at all in the last few years. So I think, there's certain strategies I'm still on the fence about with Bonus. But I think his heart's in the right place in terms of what he wants his guys to do. I'm still seeing the results of that.
Remember when Maurice would go 3 forwards? The good old days, right? No, I'm kidding. But yeah,
I don't think those are good days, but
starting with Lowry and Appleton in overtime, I get it. You're trying, when the Avs put out Makar, McKinnon, and Rantanen, you're trying to shut them down and then get your guys out there. But the biggest issue for me is the fact that in that Vegas game, Scheifele played almost 3 minutes of overtime. Perfetti didn't see the ice. Like, at that point, you're basically just going Lowry, Appleton, and then Connor, Scheifele, and then Lowry, Appleton, and just back and forth.
And
you're not getting anyone else.
Wheeler and Dubois got a couple shifts, but Lowry and Appleton should not see the ice more than once in overtime because they do not produce.
Right.
That their whole game is to prevent. That's literally Lowry, since he had, yes, he will occasionally score. He's been on the power play, but he's just the net front guy who buries the rebounds. He scores shorthanded goals. But he's not a guy who you're putting out there to, match up against the best offensive players. You're looking at these lineups that they've played against. Montreal obviously is an exception because they're not as deep, but still you want to play best versus best because you want to trust your best scorers to outscore your opponent. You have way more room, so effectively, regardless of who you're putting out there, defensive play is nearly out the window because you can just toss it back to your guy and, keep possession. You're not, there's not 5 other guys out there, that you have to worry about. I can maybe understand, as you said, starting early, even if you just start Lowry to make sure you win the face-off because he's among the better ones on the team because we've been struggling, and then send him off. Putting them out there for multiple shifts, though, I don't get. I was having this conversation with someone on Twitter. I can't remember who. But the idea that just because something worked once doesn't mean you should keep trying it because eventually it's going to stop working, and then you've kind of stuck to your guns too long and you've lost games because of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with starting with it. Bonus had a quote, too, where he said it was mainly to win the faceoff, and then people were questioning, well, then why is Appleton out there? Like, why not just go Lowry and Perfetti, right? Take Lowry off as soon as you win the faceoff or lose it, whatever. And then you can
put Gagne out there.
Yeah.
Gagne out there. Like, yeah, I know he's not as fast, but his passing would be able to open up lanes for guys like Perfetti and, even toss out a guy like Schmidt with them because he'll shoot.
And if it's to win the faceoff, as you said, Lowry and Appleton should never come back out because unless there's another faceoff,
like a big one.
Yeah, they're changing on the fly.
Yeah,
right.
The flow of the game, especially in overtime, you really should only get 4 faceoffs in that 5 minutes. I'm gonna give 4, maybe even not that, but you have to factor in if goalie's icing the puck or right, but I like you both said, I get it. I understand what he's trying to do, but I'll go back to what you said, Brian. You put best versus best, right? It should be either you're putting, let's say you have to play Colorado again in overtime or whatever down the line. You're going to play them again this year, right? They put out McKinnon, Makar, and whoever else, if it's Rantanen or whatever, then you should be putting out I don't know, Scheifele, Connor, and I don't really care, Schmidt, I guess, on D. Like, you could put Morrissey, you could put, well, I'm not going to say Pionk, but...
Leading scorer, Josh Morrissey.
Yeah,
probably leading
put some
scorer,
respect on that name.
But you guys get what I'm saying, right? Like,
yeah.
It should be, like you said, Brian, it should be best versus best. I don't care really who it is, but yes, Perfetti needs a shift. I can't believe that you're not putting out in overtime a period of the game that's supposed to be about scoring someone who's going to create chances. Like, and we just talked about Mason Appleton not scoring, so I don't get it.
Yeah, and Perfetti's one of those guys that his passing is going to open up opportunities for. He might not be the fastest, but you don't have to be.
He's the only guy in the top 6 who doesn't see overtime minutes.
Yeah,
everyone else does.
Yeah,
which is unreal. I don't get it.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna move on here, but first we're gonna take you a quick message to our followers here, and for those who aren't following us, a little message about our social media links. Hey there, it's me, Brian. Yes, the same one you were just listening to. Anyway, I've got to talk to you all about something. If you're listening, chances are you found us through social media. However, if you found your way to us through the grapevine, by the water cooler, or through the magic of friendship alone, let me tell you how to connect with us even further. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and now even TikTok. We're great at the whole brand identity thing, so we have all the same usernames on all platforms. Just search up Level Flight Podcast or the username Level Flight WPG. So, pause the episode, go follow us, then come back, okay? Great, you're back now? Perfect. Let's get on with the rest of the show.
Thank you for that, Brian. Make sure you... Okay,
no, we can laugh about that.
No. Hold on. Thank you for that, Brian. Now we're going to move on to kind of a story around the organization, not necessarily Jets related, but it is Jets related. My good friend Jacob Stoller of the Hockey News broke a story earlier in the week about Ville Heinola, how he's reportedly growing frustrated in the AHL, not getting his chances in the NHL. It was a great article. If you guys haven't read it, go give it a read. The statement came from his agent saying that Ville is growing frustrated. He wants to play more. He should be given a longer look in the NHL. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think about it? How did we get to this point? What are the next steps? Is this a surprise at all, really? Like, Ville hasn't really been given a long look in the NHL, so it's not really surprising for him to be angry about it.
I don't think it's that much of a surprise. He's a good player, right? And I really think that, and you guys can stop me if I'm wrong, I really think that if he was in almost any other organization in the league, that he would probably have gotten at least like a 10 to 15 solid game look at some point. Not this couple games here, send down, couple, like, I think he really needs 10 to 15 in a row, play him, see how he adjusts, and see what happens. But if I'm any other organization in the league, I think I'm calling up the Jets and asking them, like, hey, I really hear that one of your quote-unquote star prospect defensemen is upset. What's your asking price? Because he deserves to be on this team, especially with how bad for what he brings to the team, for how bad the Jets have been on the things that he is good at. Yeah. I really think that they need to call him up, and I think they need to do something about this before this turns into a situation where he's not signing a contract, he won't play if they call him up, and then you have to trade him.
Yeah, and at this point, I'm willing to concede that I am not sure his ceiling is even close to where it was when we first drafted him. I was of the mindset that, especially because he looked really good in those first, 8 games that he played when he was first drafted and then was sent down. I don't think he can reach that level anymore. I'd be very, very happy to see him, get the chance. That's the thing. I'm not asking, because I've been in this little back and forth with several people where I'm not asking for him to get a guaranteed lineup spot. What I want is for him to get the same chance that guys like, Stanley and even to an extent now Sandberg have got, where they can have those stretches of games, as Elliot said. There's pretty well documented evidence if you actually if you go back and watch game film from his points when he actually plays multiple games in a row. He improves every game that he plays. It's just getting into a rhythm with him. It might be different this year because he's actually he's been playing the entire time. To which he's looked pretty good with the Moose. I think a bit of his frustration is leaking into his game because he looks a little bit impatient with his passes, and he's just getting mean in front of the net.
Yeah,
I have never seen it's like Mark Stewart levels of cross checking in front of the net. I really think that if you gave him, as Elliot said, even 10 to 15 games, he would show what he can bring to the team. We know that he's a little bit off defensively. That's just something that we've known for a long time, but he makes up for it in his upside. His upside is something the Jets don't have anything, like that on the blue line. I just want to see the shot, right? You just want to see it in person in the NHL because I truly don't think he can develop anymore in the AHL from what we've seen from him.
Yeah, I think Heinola had his best game yesterday against Texas. He had 3 or 4 grade A opportunities. Hudobin made a save with the knob of his stick once off of Heinola in the slot. He had a really good game. He was jumping up into the rush. He got 12 games last year, and I thought if you divide those into 3-4 game stretches, the last 4 game stretch, he looked exactly how you wanted, exactly how you'd want him to look. Now, the biggest issue for me, Kyle Capobianco played against the Blackhawks and played on neither the power play or the penalty kill. Now, the biggest thing all of training camp that Rick Bowness said is, well, Stanley and Sandberg kill penalties, right? You need guys that can kill penalties. Well, Kyle Capobianco came in and didn't kill penalties. So why can he come in and not play any special teams, but Heinola can't? It's not consistent.
No, it's frustrating, because as I said, I just want to see him get a shot. I don't know. As Elliot said, I honestly at this point wouldn't be shocked if he's gone from prospect who can help the team to prospect who can help a trade. Because there's no indication. There was that article that came out. There was the 32 Thoughts, I think, where Friedman mentioned that effectively Chevy is going to sit on his hands until he finds the right deal, which we've heard that almost every year. Mm-hmm. And then, the right deal comes and goes, and then we undersell on a guy. It just feels like we're going to have the logjam for too long, ruin a few things. That's the thing. You could probably sell pretty high on both. You'd have to retain some, but pretty high on either Dillon or Schmidt because teams just need defensive help. And then you open up spots. It's really I think overall, yes, they're not doing all that bad this year, but I think you have to think for the future of the franchise as well. Having all of these guys getting blocked by players who are only getting older, you gotta consider what the consequences of that are.
Yeah, and I've been a big advocate for trading one of Dillon or Schmidt for middle six help because the middle six is not now with Barron out another 5 weeks and Ehlers is still out. The middle six is really thin. Dillon and Schmidt have been good this year. That's the issue. They're on the same pairing, and them together, they're doing good. So it'd be hard to trade them right now. And I've kind of come around on the whole Cheveldayoff waiting one more year, maybe, because if he really thought it was coaching, wait another year. But if they wait out their contracts, Ville's not getting a chance till he's, 23, 24? Yeah. And by that point, he's been in the AHL for 4 straight years. He's not going to improve.
Yeah.
So it's either... We've reached the point where either he requests a trade and you trade him, or you trade someone else and put him in the lineup, or you just put him in the lineup because Capobianco got in and didn't kill penalties. So I don't see the issue.
He's not going to get claimed on waivers either if you send him down. No. If he is, it probably helps the franchise out because it opens up some spots. That's the thing. I think we legitimately need to talk about, obviously there's Heinola. I think we need to talk about Declan Chisholm getting a chance finally because he is really, really good this year.
Up until yesterday's game, he was better than Ville.
Yeah.
throughout the year.
I think overall he's been better than Ville
Mm-hmm.
during the season. It was just as per a game basis, Ville definitely had a better game yesterday. Before we move on, I think at some point or another, we're gonna have to have a bit of a trade introspective here to figure out what happens next, because there's too much stuff that needs to be figured out.
Regardless, great stuff from Jacob. One of the first guys I met in the Moose press box. Super nice guy. Great scoop on the Heinola stuff. Big shout out to him.
Yeah. So if you want to read his stuff, you can just follow him on Twitter at JL Stoller, STOLLER. He's got some great stuff, some great AHL coverage. Definitely give his page a check out. Continuing on the Moose thread, we're going to do a quick touch on the 2-game set against the Texas Stars. Dropped the first one, unfortunately. A very rough game for Arvid Holm. A lot of rebound control issues. Kind of a common thread. It's unfortunate because he has these bright spots. He moves really well, but he moves too much. I think that's his issue. I think he overcommits.
He's a Freddie Anderson. Slides too much in the crease.
Marc-Andre Fleury type.
Yeah, Jonathan
Fleury's
Quick.
a little bit more controlled though.
That's
I go to Freddie Anderson just because he was so notorious from trying to go post to post, and he's in the corner by the time if he has to go back to the other post.
I mentioned Jonathan Quick though because there's so many highlights of these incredible glove saves of his. That's just because he's out of position, and he has to send himself flying across the crease. On the topic of goaltending, however,
we have noted Oskari Salminen fan, Brian.
Listen, first day of training camp.
The fan account's going to be created soon.
Yeah, first day of training camp. Almost half jokingly, I said, this guy could be something. Because I looked at his stats. He had 9 shutouts in his age 22 season in Finland. Obviously, it's a different league, different level. But I was looking forward to seeing what he can do. He's been lights out this year. I think I saw a thing where he made, 60 of 65 saves or something over the 2-game set, because he only came in the second period in the first game against Texas, which they lost 4-1, and then he started the overtime win against them on Sunday, and he honestly some of the best overall goaltending performances I've seen in the AHL in a while.
He stole that game for them.
Yeah,
straight up.
There were certain the pucks should have been in the net, and he was just.
There was a 2-on-0 in overtime that he kind of played to perfection and saved. And meantime, 2-on-0, the rebound went out of play.
Yeah,
I know he probably didn't mean to control that rebound to the point where it goes into the netting, but I mean, talk about controlling a rebound. That's just elite stuff. He's 4-1 with a .928 save percentage and a 1.93 goals against average. He's the starter for sure. I asked some of the guys. I asked some of the guys after the game. Alex Limoges said, "Thank God he's on our team." Nolan Bumgarner noted how hard it is for a goalie to come in, even though that's the backup's job, but to come in the second period and dominate the way he did in that first game and then carry it into 2 days later. He thought he was fantastic. Just praises all around for Oskari from the team, and rightfully so, because the Moose haven't seen goaltending this good in Mikhail Burton was never this good either.
No, I mean, I'd say the last really good goaltending was Hellebuck. But even then, he had moments where he struggled a little bit.
Yep.
I'd say the best overall goaltending performance that the Moose have seen since they came back in their second rendition was Michael Hutchinson in St. John's.
Yep.
With the Ice
So
Caps
we didn't
there.
even really get to see that.
No, it was
in Manitoba.
Exactly, yeah. So you're looking at a guy who is thrusting himself into the conversation as to the next man up, which it felt for a while there, even if he was struggling, that Arvid Holm was the default guy just because of organizational familiarity. I don't think you can do that now.
No.
I truly don't.
He's definitely the guy for the Moose, and he's making sound waves for sure.
But yeah, great overall weekend, just adding to just another really good stretch here to start the season. Gonna a bit of a shout out here to Mikey Asimont. Hell of an effort in overtime to get that puck to Alex Limoges for the overtime winner. You saw some incredible forechecking there, and it's just you'll love to see it, especially from a guy like that. I mentioned it in the preseason. He's just one of those guys. He's where you need him to be.
They're going to be one of the best teams in the AHL, especially if their goaltending remains this way. Brad Lambert didn't play either game. He was sick and still returning, but they're going to be unbelievable. Their forward depth is amazing. Consistency might be an issue for them. They've had 2 or 3 games where they just kind of come out flat and never recover, but in the games they've won, man, they look good.
Yeah, well, they're 6-2-1 to start the season. Just behind the Milwaukee Admirals at the lead of the Central Division there. So they're going to be competitive all the way through. I think. I think they have a real shot to make some noise in the playoffs, especially if they get the goaltending that they've been getting. But yeah, they're a fun team to watch. So if you get a chance, definitely go out and catch a game. Check it out on AHL TV. Because they're a fun team to watch, and it's nice to keep up with them.
People are definitely catching on because the attendance numbers I'm checking keep going up. I think it reached 4,300 on Sunday, which would have been one of the best of the season outside of opening day. So more people are coming out, and that was without Brad Lambert. So that's like the number 1 ticket sales guy for the Moose. So definitely come out and see the Moose. They are fun to watch, like Brian said.
Yeah, so check out the Moose. And moving back to the NHL now, very quickly, let's just wrap up with some quick news hits. Elliot, the Leafs goaltending, huh?
Oh my word. So I was, funny enough, we were chatting with the topics, and as soon as the guys mentioned that I was doing Leafs goaltending, I'm scrolling on Instagram, and I see that a Keith Petruzzelli clip from TSN pops up on my feed, and it's him getting a 2-year entry-level deal with the Leafs. And I went to the Leafs cap-friendly page just to see where they have guys placed in injured reserve and LTIR and that sort of thing. And I'm like, okay, maybe they're just giving him a contract to be a third goalie, or he's deserved it. And yes, I will quickly talk about that. He has actually played quite well in the AHL. But then I went to cap-friendly and went, oh, so they need a goalie. This isn't just a rewarding contract. Ilya Samsonov is on injured reserve. I believe he's probably week to week, so he may come back, which means that either him or Eric Källgren will get sent down, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And Matt Murray is on LTIR, might be coming back. Maybe we'll see. It's Matt Murray. I don't really know if you want him coming back anyways.
He's better than Källgren.
But is he almost $5 million?
That's a whole other question.
That's a completely different thing we won't get into. Källgren has played 5 games this year, 904 save percentage, goals against of 2.76, so he's looked okay. And then Petruzzelli has a combined over the last 2 seasons 11 AHL games. Yes, this year he's got a 2.31 goals against and a 922 save percentage. Great, but he has no NHL experience whatsoever. I think as much as the Leafs are trending upwards currently, I think once again goaltending will be an issue and will probably hurt them really bad here again, and that's why you pay Freddie Anderson and you don't let him walk.
Yeah, it's a mess right now in Toronto.
They should sell the team.
Swinging it out west to the swinging it out west here to San Jose. Just quickly, I'm here to officially say that Erik Karlsson is back.
So back.
He currently has 19 points in 14 games, which sits tied right now for 4th in the league, tied with players such as Nathan MacKinnon and David Pastrnak, which I didn't think I'd be saying again. Being an Ottawa fan, seeing him for so long, just being so dominant, it's almost a tear to my eye seeing how good he's been. So
it's so nice to see.
But he's just. He also has just an absurd amount of, just like the way he's skating looks like old Karlsson. So, good for him. I'm going to keep watching that throughout the year because I'd love to see him, challenge for another Norris because I just love Erik Karlsson. All right, Connor, take us home with your news.
Yeah, we had a few suspensions in the NHL over the last couple of days. No surprises. Matthew Tkachuk got suspended. It's Matthew Tkachuk. For those that didn't see it, he was the whistle had blown. Jonathan Quick froze the puck, and he kind of turned his stick and jammed it in the eye socket of his mask. kind of catching him in the eye with a high stick. He got suspended 2 games for that, which I think is fair. I mean, it was clearly intentional, and it wasn't like Quick is fine. It wasn't damaging, but you can't do stuff like that. It's just unnecessary and reckless. So 2 games seems fine. He's been suspended 3 times before. Once was a 2-game suspension. The other 2 times were just 1-game suspensions. Josh Anderson of the Canadiens got suspended for 2 games. He hit Alex Pietrangelo pretty hard from behind in the danger zone. And so he got 2 games for boarding. The major argument for stuff like this is always, well, he turned. Like, you hear people say that Pietrangelo turned, right? And how is Anderson supposed to know that he's going to turn and whatever? If you watch the clip, Pietrangelo is kind of skating lateral to the boards with his numbers to the boards for a good 2-3 seconds. That's not even in slow-mo. And then Anderson comes at full speed and hits him face first into the dasher. I think it could have been 3 or 4 games, like maybe even more than 2. I don't know. I just hits like that where there are instances where they turn and it's like, well, you can't really do much about that. Give him a 5. Don't suspend him at all. That's fine. But this one, Pietrangelo is clearly turning. He's clearly skating lateral to the boards with his back to it, kind of 2 feet away from the boards. It was nasty. I think personally, I would have given him 3 or 4 games, but I don't mind the 2-game suspension.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are out of time here today. The Jets are back in action tomorrow night against the Dallas Stars.
Huge game.
Well, I guess by the time this is out, it'll be tonight.
Yes.
We're recording this on Monday, so no, it'll be tonight against the Stars. Rick Bowness's first game against his former team. He was still out of action when we played them down in Dallas. But yeah, top 2 teams in the Central Division. That'll be on tomorrow night, 7 p.m. You can find it on TSN 3, CJOB 680 on the radio. Same with Power 97, or NHL Live through your Sportsnet app.
And follow our social media, Level Flight WPG. We'll have all the updates. We'll have all the highlights. We'll have everything that you need to know about the game.
Yeah, so keep tabs on us. So from myself, on behalf of Connor and Elliot, I hope you have a great week, and go Jets.
Go Jets.
Go Jets.
You've been listening to the Level Flight Podcast.